Testing, testing, are we good? Sound alright? Do we sound good? Do we sound fine? Are we ready to go?
I think so.
Okay.
Alright, cool.
So welcome back. This week we are going from Montenegro to Southeast Asia, the land of smiles.
Yeah! Thailand.
Specifically Bangkok.
Yep, this week's episode will be only Bangkok.
Because we were there for 8 to 10 days, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, 8 to 10 days.
8 to 10
Yeah.
very eventful days.
This was where culture shock definitely came in full force and where we had a big experience with culture shock. Fuck.
Fuck what? With the
Fucking hate starting.
culture shock. I know. It's just, it's like riding a bike. It's bumpy at first and then we'll get the hang of it.
Is that what riding a bike is like?
Maybe. I don't know. What's the other analogy? Oh, starting a car. That's the one, an old car.
Starting an old or cold car.
Yeah. It's like...
Hi guys, welcome to the Beanstalk Podcast, where we talk about everything travel.
Sharing first-hand travel advice and getting to the bottom of real-life experiences in the hopes to inspire you to get out there yourself. And then welcome back. We'll have everything to talk about.
So yeah, this is what happened.
And this is where we went.
I wonder what we do now.
And this is what we saw. But anyways, so from Tivat we flew to Abu Dhabi, which is in the United Arab Emirates. And this
pronounced just like that.
United Arab Emirates.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. But this was also somewhat of a culture shock, just for the brief little layover that we had there because...
Layover / terminal change.
Yeah, basically. But I remember it was so hot, so sandy. I felt like we were in a cloud of sand.
Not in the actual airport,
no.
But we had to take a bus to get transferred outside to another terminal.
A different terminal, yeah.
It wasn't like we just walked from inside the airport to another one. We had to actually get out, hop on a bus, wait in line, and then get transferred, and then hop out and go in another entrance.
Yeah, and so this heat hit you like a fucking wave. It was just unbearable.
It was gnarly.
It was pretty gnarly. It was like the hottest thing that I had experienced before we got to Asia. But I also remember being in the airport and we were like the odd men out. We did not look like anybody else.
No, there was a lot of those, like Muslim robes and burqas, and
so
here we were with like shorts and t-shirts and big backpacks.
So out of place, but it was cool because I mean it's totally different.
Yeah, it wasn't like uncomfortable.
No, because everybody's just catching their flights and flying out or coming in.
But it felt like you were really traveling.
Yeah,
like you were definitely away from home.
So we just boarded the next flight, and so the flight from Montenegro to Abu Dhabi was about 8 hours, and then the flight that we got from Abu Dhabi to Bangkok was about 6.5, I believe. And this whole way, I was just about running back and forth to the bathroom on each flight because I was still pretty sick from the whatever I had caught in Montenegro. So these were not the most pleasant of flights for me. But yeah, I guess we got in pretty late into Bangkok. It was dark, and we didn't.
It was dark.
We didn't know how we were gonna get into the city where was the hostel that we had booked.
Yeah, this is where we were used to traveling Europe, where it was just like, oh yeah, just catch the bus or whatever, catch this. We'll find it out as you get there. There's lots of options. This was like you arrived and you're like, okay, I don't really know what the hell I'm doing or how to get to where I need to go.
Yeah, what's the protocol here? How do we catch a cab, or how do we get a bus, or how do we get there? So it was all very new. And so at this point in the year, it was September
16th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we had been traveling for just over 4 months.
Yeah.
We had arrived at night, and I have here written down because it's kind of odd that us here in the States, we would say, oh, we arrived at 10:30, but almost everywhere else in the world uses the 24-hour clock. So that is another thing that if you are going to be traveling abroad, you kind of got to get used to.
The military time.
What we
At least what
Yankees call military time. And so, yeah, it would have been 23, or gosh. It's so funny because I even use this on my phone. Like, I don't use the 12-hour clock anymore.
You're
I just
really
don't.
cool.
No, I'm just saying to get used to it. Shut the fuck up. But yeah, it would have been like 22:30.
But people still say 10:30.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Okay.
Because it's not 10:30.
You're right. Let's go and carry on.
Okay. But anyway, so in the airport, we had tried, I think, connecting to their Wi-Fi or looking for, a bus, and we couldn't find a bus, and then
There is no bus, and the Wi-Fi we couldn't connect.
no.
Because all of you, I guess you were kind of able to, but it was all in Thai, which is scribbles, and we were like, I don't know what this says or what this means or which one to even click or
This
where
isn't helping.
Yeah. How I'm being navigated through this attempt to try to log on. So we just hopped out front.
Yeah, we were told to wait in this line and grab a cab.
To get in a taxi rank.
They're called taxis there, right? Or are they called something else?
Taxi, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But a rank is like a line, isn't it? Like a taxi rank?
Oh, I didn't know that. Did you have that in your notes?
I want to say that was from like England.
Oh. Wow.
I was like, oh, that's a weird name. I remember it was from somewhere, and I was like, oh, that's a kind of a gross, weird word to use, but...
It's rank.
You're getting the rank.
But yeah, we ended up splurging on a taxi to get us to our hostel, which was a whole $12.50 US.
Which our hostel was in the backpacker district area, which is Khao San Road, which is 32 kilometers away. So it took a while to get there.
Yeah, it took about 40 minutes or so by.
So $12.50, like by U.S. standards, isn't a lot.
No.
But for there it is.
It is a lot.
But we had no idea. We had no,
There's no reference, and we were used to...
There's no reference to compare, so...
We were used to, like, European prices for stuff, so this was like, oh, yeah, $12.50, sure. But when you think about the exchange rate and then the cost of living over there, it kind of is a lot.
No, it's expensive.
It is.
It was later come to find out there's actually a sky train, which is on a higher level, that you can take all the way into kind of like a central area of Bangkok, and it costs 45 baht per person.
Which is the equivalent of $1.30 US.
So cheap. The $12.50 to get there was a lot more expensive.
Definitely.
However, it's just one of those things where it's like you have no reference of what things should cost. But yeah, 45 baht, it's super cheap.
Yeah, so when you think about it, we just spent like almost a week's worth of meals on one taxi cab, right?
Yeah. So it's a lot of just like trial and error and figuring things out as you go of what things should cost versus it's easy to get ripped off, and I would expect to at some point, multiple times, you will get ripped off. So it's almost there's no avoiding it, just expect it at some point. Yeah. You just deal with it.
You live and you learn and you figure out what to look for, to avoid that in the future. So
yeah. So for us, $1 US at the time equaled 36 baht.
Yeah.
Thai baht. And I still had some pounds, and I was like, I don't know when we're going to get to London or England again.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we will at the time. So I just exchanged 60 pounds. So I got just over 3,100 baht.
Nice.
Which I did at the airport. So it sounded like a lot, which it is too.
That'll last you a good stretch.
That'll last me a while.
Yeah. Did you get it at the airport?
At the airport, yeah, too.
So, yeah, another thing to note possibly for future travelers is that you want to try to avoid exchanging money in airports because the exchange rate is most likely going to not be in your favor.
It'll be a little worse because it's usually for more desperate people, which I guess we kind of were because we didn't have any...
No.
Thai baht, and we needed to get into where we needed to go to our stay.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. But if you, I mean, we could have maybe like exchanged less money and then maybe exchange more money outside of the airport. But that's another thing that we had to learn.
yeah, and also we had no idea how much things should cost. So
Totally.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I got 60 pounds. Where like,
Yeah.
that could easily be spent in a day in
Oh.
England, where it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
Easily.
conversion of 3,100 baht could last you quite a while,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
at least a
Weeks.
week.
Yeah. But I do remember when we did jump in that cab, we were joined by a couple of mosquitoes, which I was like, oh shit.
Which you're
Because,
at least we were
mm-hmm,
pretty cautious and a
mm-hmm.
little nervous of the mosquitoes with malaria and dengue fever.
Because we had gotten vaccinations to avoid those specific things in this area. So we were kind of on high alert that, oh, this is a possibility of being something you can get over here. But, we didn't find out until later that you really don't have to worry about the city mosquitoes. It's more of like the rural, kind of like in the mountain or kind of backwoodsy
Yeah,
area
like if you're in the
mosquitoes.
jungle or something, or
Yeah, like if you're doing a big hike and maybe got,
but
bit up there.
typically in Southeast Asia, if you're in a big city, you shouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you should be all right.
There are a few other little spots where like you might get dengue, but the probability is a lot lower.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if you're definitely out in, off the beaten trail is when you gotta really watch out.
Yeah.
But I
I
remember
what?
I felt like such a tourist just riding in the cab because I was like, oh my God, a mosquito.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get sick or die. And I
Totally.
was like trying to swat at this thing, and I bet the driver was just like, yeah, they fucking
It
terrorists.
was funny though because like I think he was trying to talk to us or we were trying to talk to him and I was like kind of paying attention to him but also like avoiding the mosquito and trying to swat at it and shit. So he was probably
Yeah.
just like, "What? These people are weird."
But yeah,
Uh,
so it was dark, and
yeah.
it had just rained a lot, and
Mhm.
it was still raining like kind of off and on the ride into basically central Bangkok.
Yeah, it was raining pretty heavy there for a bit, and there was
Yeah,
like some lightning and thunder and stuff, so it was kind of
yeah.
exciting and, brand new.
It was definitely not cold.
No, not in the slightest. We do get to the area near our hostel, and because we gave him the general direction of where we needed to go and a couple cross streets, and he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I know that place." And then he dropped us out front of this hotel. It was like this big hotel, and right on the top it
In big
said,
letters,
"Yeah,
huge like neon glowing letters. It just said chillax,
chillax."
and we are like, oh, that's a funny name.
Yeah, we're like, okay, I don't think this
And this
is.
is not where we're staying.
No. Mm-mm.
So yeah, he
But
dropped us off right out front, and one of the reception, or what is he, like a bag boy, or what do they call
bag boy. I think just one like concierge or whatever, kind of one of the guys at the front. It's not like a bellhop, is it? That's like an old term too.
him? Yeah, but I guess that's basically what he
The
is,
fuck is the
right?
name? Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah,
like a
just a
bellhop. He basically ran out, like opened the trunk, started bringing our bags,
yeah,
and
he
we
like
were kind of
grabbed.
like, wait, 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 this isn't where we're
Yeah.
staying. Give our shit back,
Yeah,
and
we're like, wait a minute. He took him inside, like into the lobby, and we're like, oh, well. So we just had to like walk into the lobby and grab our bags again and be like, sorry, not,
yeah.
not here.
So we just paid the driver, and then went and retrieved our bags, and
Yeah,
basically explained that this isn't where we're staying, but
yeah,
where we are staying is this place called the Oasis Hostel.
yeah. We asked him kind of where it was, and he knew, in the general area. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah,
So
head
we
this
just
way and that
pointed the
way.
general direction and
Yeah.
kind of told us where it was.
But it was still a little bit of a search and stuff. And were we using Google Maps at this time yet?
I want to say we were, but not as well as we could have been.
Yeah.
To where like you can download a whole city's area,
Yeah.
and we hadn't done that yet. We just had
Mm-mm.
kind of,
Kind
and
of
then
looking to see if, whereabouts this or that is. And I don't know if we even knew about. I don't think we knew about the blue dot.
yeah,
But yeah, so kind of what Carl's saying is you can download a whole area and then I think it just works offline. So
yeah.
you don't
So
even have
then,
to connect to Wi-Fi.
yeah, because if you don't, then it's useless.
Yeah. But then
It
you
doesn't have like the streets.
no, mm-mm.
It doesn't.
There's like
keep you, it doesn't follow you because,
no, there's
it doesn't
no
pinpoint where you're at.
no information really. It's not detailed at all, but as soon as you download the map of the area, you can zoom in as much as you can, like as much as you want, and it's got all the information.
Yeah, all the little streets,
Mhm.
and it gives you a pretty good vicinity like of the area too. It's not just
Yeah.
like a small
No, it's a
area.
huge map. Yeah, you can make it as big as you want. It just the file size gets larger and larger, so.
Right.
But yeah, so we didn't know about that yet, but we did, wander kind of in the way that he said, and maybe just by our very simple map, we were able to find it, luckily. On the walk there, this is really where I kind of felt like the culture shock like hit me.
Yeah, because this
'Cause,
is like we were out of the cab, away from
mhm,
the airport, central Bangkok.
yeah,
It's at night, everything's damp and wet.
yeah,
It's not raining anymore, but it's definitely
no,
puddles and stuff.
there
And
were,
we were
yeah.
like, all right, we got to go down this alley.
Well, to me, it felt like all the streets were alleys because
Yeah,
they're
it's
so narrow. It's very,
condensed.
like everything's pretty small, very condensed. You can fit maybe like a taxi down one of those little side streets, but it would be hard to get. There definitely no room for multiple lanes of traffic as far
Yeah,
as
it's
vehicles.
mostly motorbikes.
It's mostly motorbikes, yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's just
so,
no room for everyone to have a car. There'd be no way that
no, uh-uh.
that's even doable.
Yeah. And so, as we're walking, it's kind of drizzling on us, like Carl said, and we're trying to avoid stepping on frogs because they were rampant
Yeah,
everywhere.
because it had rained, all the frogs had come
Mhm.
out, and you could hear them croaking all
Mhm.
over the alleyway. And
Yeah, and so like as you're walking too, they don't really differentiate between areas so much as far as like what's business and what is
residential.
residential. So here in the States, we like to separate those two things and put all the
There's like the
houses.
suburbs,
Yeah.
and then there's, the downtown workplace.
Yeah, these are the business district, and you know that you can go here to get food and that, and then you go into the suburbs, and this is where your houses are, and so it's very distinct, the two different areas. But in Asia, it's like that, it's all just jumbled together. So you could be walking down one of these little side streets, and it could be, someone's shop or someone's house or both,
Yeah,
and
it
a
could
lot
be
of
the
the time
same,
it
one and the
was.
same.
Yeah. And then you'd see like sleeping food carts where, you can tell that when the day comes, they, liven those things up and start cooking food and selling to people. And it was just kind of cool because
It's all very different,
it was all very different. It's just
very foreign.
something we had never experienced before. And, you turn either side of the street and you're looking into someone's living room and they have the doors wide open. A lot of the time it was kind of like those roll top, almost garage style doors where it's just like, oh, there's someone's house and you can just look right into it. It's interesting because it doesn't feel like so private, but you also don't feel like you're intruding.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
the
they
way it
clearly don't
is.
care
No,
because you
yeah.
just walk down the alley and there'd be this big, open doorway
Mhm.
with someone sitting on the couch and you see them just watching the TV or
Yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
which is stacked on a pile of, crates or boxes or
Yeah.
something
Mhm.
amongst all their other shit that's kind of clustered and
It's
rat packed in there because they only have so much room anyway.
yeah, but it's just a whole nother world. It was cool, and there was like always incense on either side of
Doorway.
the doorways, which was cool because it's like these little red embers with a trail of smoke, and
So
I
you
don't
get
know.
little whiffs of, yeah,
Yeah, like
incense here and
nice
there.
incense. Some of the smells were pretty good. Some of them weren't so good.
Yeah, some of the streets fucking stink.
Yeah,
And
they
you're
were
like, oh, that street. Oh
like,
my
what
God.
was
We gotta
that?
hold our breath for this next block.
It's like a durian cart or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, you kind of had to avoid like motorbikes whizzing by too. So it was cool just walking around and getting to our hostel and stuff. So as the rain had stopped and it started to warm up a bit, you could very much feel the humidity start to rise,
Because
and
it's still nighttime.
it
But
was.
yeah, definitely with the rain gone, it's
Mhm.
still like warmed up,
Yeah, it's
even though
like
there was no
whoa.
sun.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of crazy. But yeah,
You could almost like see the mist from like the
it
heat of the water evaporating, and it was
yeah,
just instant humidity, and we were like, holy shit.
It was nuts. We were definitely sweating by the time we got to the hostel. It was, you could feel it. But yeah, we finally found the Oasis sign hanging out front, and we walked in, and there's like this large kind of garden area. I think there was like a little kiddie pool off into one corner, which I was like, I don't know why you have that there. It's just going to attract mosquitoes. But then I think once we experienced like a daytime there, I was like, oh, that's why you have it. It's fucking hot out. you know. But there were a lot of people just kind of chilling out front in the front desk kind of area. And
it was kind of just like a little hang area with a table and chairs. And
there were several backpackers just having some beers and talking about, travel most likely. Yeah, it's usually when you're meeting backpackers in this kind of setting, you get asked a few different questions, and they kind of...
They're generally always the same ones.
Yeah. But it starts with, like, where are you from? Where have you been? What have you seen? Like, where are you going next? And then maybe later it's like, oh yeah, what's your name?
Yeah, name's like question 5.
At least, yeah. So. How long have you been gone for? How long are you going?
Yeah.
We didn't really stay and converse with anybody. We wanted to check into our room. We were pretty tired from the flights and the long couple days of traveling. We reserved a private room, which was kind of nice.
Because it was cheap.
It was cheap, yeah. And so it was we had like 8 to 10 days, like we had said. And we go up into our private room, which also had air conditioning, which was very nice.
However, it wasn't 24 hours.
No, you couldn't just sit there and run it all the time if you were hot.
Which is what you wanted to do.
Yeah, basically. But then you'd probably never get out of your room.
It'd be harder to.
It would be harder to. But so they shut it off at like 11
p.m. or a.m.?
A.m.
Yeah, so it ran overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at least like while you slept, it was,
for sure. But once 11 a.m. rolled around, you had to shut it off.
And it was in no time flat that the room was like fucking a sticky hot mess.
It took like 5 minutes, and then you're like, oh, all right, we're getting out of here.
We need to get out of the room now.
But it was kind of funny, this room, because it was very simple. It had like a coat rack, a bookshelf, and then a bed.
The bed was what, like 2/3 of the room?
Yeah, seriously.
There wasn't even a way to kind of sidestep onto the bed.
Yeah, the bed was, side to side, wall to wall. So you had to jump over the railing of the...
It was interesting.
Yeah, and so you're like, all right, well, get into bed, and you run and jump. Whee! And we were kind of, you get to a room, you kind of inspect it, and like, oh, what's this, what's that? And I saw this giant smear of a fucking bloody booger on the wall on my side of the bed, and I was like, oh. And I had to clean that shit off before I, could do anything else in the room. I definitely couldn't have fucking slept with knowing there was
staring at that
sick bloody booger staring at me.
Gross.
Yeah, we wanted to shower like right away. I remember, because
it's just when you travel and sweat, it's not a normal sweat.
No.
I think we've mentioned that before, where it's just like a different level of grime. You don't sweat normally. It's like thick and gross, and there's something about like circulated air and
in the planes.
I don't know.
And just...
You want to get that shit off, though, because it's thick and, it's...
Yeah, and as we were getting into, more and more heat, it was just, we felt pretty gross, so the showers were very nice.
And interesting.
Yeah, they were pretty interesting. It was almost like a big communal...
It's like a separate building.
It was a separate building, but it was almost like communal style, but they were all divided by... brick walls, yeah.
Like there was a bunch of different, there was like 3 or 4 doors on each side of this building, and each went into its own separate little shower unit area.
And bathroom, or toilet, so.
And there was no ceiling, but there was a roof that was kind of raised above.
Yeah.
So if you raised your arm, you could see someone else, or you couldn't see someone else, but you could like see a hand pop up or something.
I want to see someone else.
But you could definitely hear other people, and
yeah, I think you shared a beer with a dude, didn't you? One night, he's like, "Here, you want a beer?" And
yeah, there was clearly people in the stall next to me. There were actually 2 German guys, and they were showering. They could hear the water going in mine too, and they're like, "There's someone over there." And I was like, yeah, someone's here. Yep,
What kind of accent was that?
someone over there. I don't know. I don't even know what that is.
I don't either. It's flowing over there.
But he basically handed over. So one of the more popular beers over there are Chong,
Yeah.
and
We called him Big Chang at first when we didn't know they were
there's big and
pronounced
little
Chong.
Changs
Oh
because there's
yeah.
different sizes.
Oh yeah. But it's pronounced Chong, right? Not
Yeah.
Chang.
I think we thought it was Chang.
We did.
So yeah, I was showering, and the guy, reaches his arm over with the bottle of beer. And was like, "Would you like a drink?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, sure, I guess." When in Rome, and
Yeah.
so we're just passing back and forth this beer as we're showering. It's kind of interesting, but
Yeah.
it's one of those moments that always sticks with me too. That I don't know why, I don't know
Was it your
for
first?
what reason that stuck with me, but I think about that one a lot.
Was it your first beer shower experience?
Beer, like shower share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Oh.
Oh, let me just clear my frog in my throat.
I remember that.
I remember when I smoked up 5 cigarettes in a day. No, I remember those showers specifically because when you would be in there would always be like little geckos that would like pop up around the place because they liked,
They were just
where
as
the
long as
water
like
was.
one of your fingers. They were
They're
pretty
so
small, like little
little.
green geckos, but
Cute. Some
and
of
they'd
them
make
were white.
these little chirpy sounds
Yeah.
that were very distinct. And after a while, you're like, "Oh, Thailand."
Yeah. It's also, you had to kind of watch out for mosquitoes too, because it wasn't like, you're closed in there. It was all kind of like open air, from.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be way too fucking humid
Oh, good God.
if it was all enclosed.
You'd go into your little humid box and
Your
die
little
in there.
sauna.
But
Like, what's the point of showering there?
right. So the toilet was in there also, and I was almost expecting like squatty potties to be everywhere, where it's like.
Because that's what we heard.
We did.
And that might have been like what it used to be, but.
Maybe. But almost everywhere there are those Western toilets where you can just sit down. But the difference is that they have something that's called the bum gun. And it's a little hose that sits just right next to the tank. And when you're done, you can use this little sprayer that's on the hose to spray off your business, clean yourself, and then you just kind of dab yourself with the toilet paper.
Basically, just to dry yourself.
Just to dry yourself off, because you're
bum
already
gun's
clean.
supposed to spray it off.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not really like wiping. Even though some people I don't think know how to use it, and that's what they would do, and you'd see like a dirty shit wipe in the trash, and you're like, dude.
Yeah, because you don't put the toilet paper in the toilet.
No, because their plumbing can't handle that.
It just gets backed up, and then it's like fucked, and they have to go through this whole ordeal of taking everything. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I don't.
But I guess I've heard it's a big ordeal.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to get, I'm like, you guys. I don't know how that works because it can, take poos down the drains, but it can't take toilet paper.
Disintegrate easier in water than like paper can.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But anyway, so now that you have that pretty picture painted in your head, all you would do is basically throw the toilet paper in the trash.
Yeah, there's always like a little bin somewhere.
Which is funny because I think after using this for so long when we were in Asia, I almost preferred it to the other method because it's like, oh, well, no wonder fucking Westerners have to deal with hemorrhoids and all that shit because they're just wiping dry. Like
wiping it raw.
Right? Like the water spritz was almost like, oh, you have a nice little handheld bidet where you can just,
as well as like
really
if
clean
you're
yourself.
in Asia too, or just anywhere, even if it's summertime in most places, if you're sweaty,
oh yeah,
like it sprays off all the sweat too. It's
nice.
Almost more refreshing. Yeah. I prefer it, to be honest. It sounds weird at first, but it's easy to get used to, and once you start doing it, you're like, yeah, this makes so much sense.
Why didn't anybody, like, why didn't
why
this
are we
catch
just
on?
wiping and that's it?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a pretty welcoming change for us to start getting used to the bum gun.
But there are still a lot of squatty potties.
There are some squatty potties, definitely.
Where it's basically like a small trough in the ground with a hole at one end.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like a hole that you're squatting over and, aiming for Oh,
There's usually like a little ridged area on each side
for
for
your
where you put your
feet.
feet so
Mm-hmm.
you don't slip too. And
Exactly. And so, especially like public bathrooms, you kind of have to,
expect it to be gnarly.
yeah, expect it to be pretty gnarly. And make sure, I mean, the squatty potties are almost like I prefer, so I don't have to sit my ass on any gnarly seat, you know?
It's actually, if you're not used to it,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a workout.
It
Like if
is.
you're just squatting there and it's going to take a while, like your legs start to shake
They
and
do,
yeah, you're
yeah.
kind of like, whoa,
Like you're
this
like,
is,
holy crap, okay, I'm using
my thighs are
muscles.
burning.
Yeah, I'm using muscles that I'm not used to using. So I would say any Asian leg would totally outmatch you as far as muscle development. I don't know, muscle mass.
Oh, that's good.
Anyways, so yeah, it was, kind of a hard thing to get used to using the squatties, but it's also that's kind of like the way that our bodies have been designed to poo. Like I don't know where the Western seat came into play because it's almost I've heard like scientifically that when you're sitting upright with your, at your legs at a 90-degree angle,
Like if you're
it
sitting on a chair or a toilet,
yeah,
like
exactly.
a Western toilet,
Then it's your like bowels don't work as well.
they're not
That's
as functional,
no.
like naturally.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something about the squatting that just kind of works it all out and allows you to. There's a lot of poop talk in this episode, more than I was thinking that there was going to be, but
Knowing you, I'm not
you're
surprised at all.
welcome.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so a little thing to note if you're using the public toilets, bring a little bit of teepee of your own, because otherwise there's going to be some lady out front charging you to, buy some toilet paper to use in their public restroom, because they usually do not keep them stocked, at least in the less fancy ones, in the, shitty ones. No pun intended.
So after checking in and getting
Yeah.
cleaned up, it was still, early enough, at least
Mm-hmm.
for us. We had nowhere to be in the morning.
No,
So,
uh-uh.
and we knew that we were close to Khaosan Road, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically the backpackers' party road.
Yeah.
That's, where all the backpackers tend to go, and there's just
Get wasted or tried some drugs or
questionable
bugs
eats.
or, yeah.
So we ended up wanting to head down that way because I guess nighttime's when it's most lively anyway, and it
Mm-hmm.
it goes till early in the morning.
Yeah.
Is that your stomach?
It was. Sounded like a little toot. Like, I mean, not like a fart, but like a little.
Intestine inside fart?
Well, that. I'm sure it was.
Sounded
What?
like a sad little elf or something. Now you were like,
I was thinking like a little tugboat, like, doo. I don't know. I don't think my body's used to coffee
I
yet.
thought of like a depressed little gnome that was just like, oh.
Could have been that. Oh my god, I'm crying. Yeah, so Khaosan Road. My sad little elf didn't like Khaosan Road.
I was just thinking of all the street food and what it was gonna do to your guts, and it's just like, oh, I'm not ready.
It has PTSD from all the horrible shits I had in Asia. Oh, oh.
This might not go well.
I remember those times. Oh. Oh, okay, good God.
So
Focus
Khaosan
here.
Road,
Yeah, we get to Khaosan Road, and it is like another culture shock all in
it's
itself. It was
packed.
crazy.
So it was what, like midnight, 1 in the morning or something?
Yeah, and it was just non-stop with
Talk
people
about like
walking
sensory
back and forth.
overload.
Sensory overload for sure. There were guys saying ping pong show, and we later find out that
It's what it sounds like. It's what you're thinking. It's exactly what you're thinking.
no, tell them what it is. What if some people are like, oh, you just go and watch like
It's like professional ping
a
pong players? Cool.
they go in a room and you watch like a
It's
professional
the
ping
sport of
pong game?
Thailand.
Wow, cool. No, it's where it's like a live sex show, kind of. Not people having sex, but women.
Which you could see too.
Yeah, probably. Um, did you?
I didn't, but it was on the list. Like, people walk around with these laminated menus of like,
What do you want to see? This kinky shit. Yeah.
you can see any of this stuff on this list.
I remember having a drunken night and like grabbing the list from some guy and being like, "What? The chopsticks? What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, it's like sexy chopsticks or something. We were even like, what could that possibly be?
You
I
like
don't
let your imagination go wild, and mine really thought of like a woman using the chopsticks to like pick up a dumpling. I don't know. If she can pop ping pong balls out of there, then like who knows what she can do with that shit. It's talent like no other. Um, but so there was like booze, there was food, there was Thai massage, which could have meant something else. I don't know. There were
Happy ending, Thai massage.
there were sex workers. There was laughing gas, or we know it in the West as whippets.
There were little carts where you could buy bugs or insects to eat.
Yeah.
A whole array of different kinds.
So many.
There are these little Thai women, and I don't say this as like a derogatory thing, but it's literally the smaller women that are like 4 foot something. And they're older.
Yeah.
And they're all, I don't know why it's just them. But they have these little wooden frogs, and they have like
it's like
ridges on their back.
Yeah.
And
it
they
makes
run
this
this
specific
wooden
noise. Sorry.
You want to say it? Go.
No.
As I'm in the middle of like explaining.
Sorry.
As we're
go.
just battling for content.
I'm excited.
Well, let me say something.
Okay, go.
So, yeah, it's these little wooden frogs, and they have these wooden ridges on the back, like the spine of the frog, with a wooden stick that they run over it, and it makes a sound, and it sounds like a frog.
I wish I had one right now.
So they're using that, and then they just come up to you, and they're making the sound with the frog as they run the stick along the ridge.
Yeah.
Or they have these, it's the same women that have these bracelets that are embroidered with, fucked up sayings.
Hand sewn. Yeah.
Yeah, that's embroidered along the bracelet that says like donkey lips or like
it's
fuck slut or you know like
it's like the most random.
Like, do you know what this means? Do you know what this translates to? Do you know what you're selling?
Totally. There was like cunt salad was one of them that I saw. I was like, what the fuck is a cunt salad?
Yeah, it's like, what are you selling, little lady?
Yeah, they were adorable though, man. Like
they just come up with this smile. They're usually like older,
so happy and just like, hey, you want this? And it was funny because as you're walking down the road, you would hear a frog, and you're like, where? And you just maybe think it was a frog, and then it would get closer and closer and closer, and you'd think that like this frog's kind of like following you, and you're like, what the fuck?
No, after a while, you know it's one of them.
And then you knew it was one of those ladies.
And honestly, I never saw them actually sell a single one to anyone. I'm sure they do, but
I never really like paid attention, How much have you sold today?
But there's just a ton of stuff down there. I mean, there's tons of street food. There's like pad thai or skewers of
so much
meat that I don't even know what it is.
But,
so yeah, and then there's just like, so there's basically clubs, and I wouldn't say clubs, but there's
kind of, they're almost like,
but it's outdoors.
Yeah.
So there's basically speakers, there's outdoor, I guess they are kind of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
It's loud, there's lights, there's people, there's crowds, there's things
crazy.
buying, there's fucked up people.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah. For me, I could walk down back and forth on that road for like a little bit, and then I was like, I just can't keep walking back and forth. It's just so much. But it was definitely geared toward kind of the Western tourists, and there was Burger King, there was a KFC, there was McDonald's, a Subway, like all those kind of like Western fast food chains.
Yeah.
And always a 7-Eleven.
Remember those?
Or multiple. Yeah. The
7-Elevens are actually rampant in Thailand.
Yeah, it's funny.
They're everywhere.
They died here in the States and
but
they moved
flourished.
To Thailand.
Yeah, they all packed up and went to Thailand.
It's crazy. This is a convenience store chain, if you don't know it already, if you're maybe younger and you're listening to this, that used to be here in the States. It started here in the States, I believe.
Used to be like gas stations.
Yeah, basically. It used to be gas stations. You could actually fill up gas there.
/ like mini mart or
Yeah. But then it kind of just turned into kind of your local convenience shop with, food, drink, just kind of whatever little snack that you want or something that you need. But yeah, they are everywhere. I would almost compare them to Starbucks as far as here in the States. Like,
not as far as what they have, but as far
not
as
at all, but as far as the sheer volume of Starbucks and how many there are here in the States. It's almost like every corner kind of has a Starbucks. It's that and then more even in Thailand with 7-Elevens. Because I remember us on a bus one day and I was looking out the bus and I saw a 7-Eleven and I literally just looked to the right of me and there was a 7-Eleven just across the street.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even on Khao San Road, there's 2 7-Elevens on that.
Yeah. Yeah, those were right across the street from each other too,
Pretty close.
almost. Yeah. So they really like them over there. And we kind of liked them too, because it was fucking hot.
That was one of the few places where you could go in and it was nice and cool.
Oh, it had blasting AC. And
it felt amazing.
Sometimes you would be like walking all day and then you'd pass 7-Eleven and the little
the automatic door would slide open.
Yeah, it would
and
open
this gust
and just,
of cool.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God. And I remember various times we would walk into the 7-Eleven and just like be looking at like nose hair trimmers or something random. Like,
it's like an air freshener, but it was just basically where the AC was
right
blowing.
in front of the AC, and you're just sitting there like looking at it and just feeling the AC just because it was so fucking hot outside. We didn't even buy anything. We were just in there to feel a little bit of relief from the heat.
During the first week, Bangkok specifically was going through like a heat wave.
Mm-hmm.
And that on top of the humidity, it was crazy. Even the locals were like, it's hot.
It was
like, this
insane.
isn't normal. And we were like, okay, good, because this is nuts. I thought this was like everyday life.
Yeah.
But it was gnarly hot for like the first full week.
Yeah, I think so. And I remember we were eating dinner somewhere. It was still light out, but it was like kind of at that cooling off stage in the day, almost. Even, I mean, I guess
where
if you ever got to
went
it.
Away.
Yeah, at least the sun wasn't beaming down on you. And I was just sitting there, and we hadn't moved for a while, but still there were like beads of sweat just like, cascading down my head. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was gnarly.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of got a little bit used to our little neck of the woods and how to get around and walk around and explore and stuff. And this just was a random memory that popped back into my head, but there was like this little strip of kind of alley right next to this river, or not even like a river, it was more of like a canal nearby our hostel. And you're almost walking kind of through like shop after shop after shop, or house after house after house. And there was this fat little dog that was like hair. Remember the sparse hair?
Yeah.
So
it looked like a fat little hyena or something.
It
did. It was all spotted and...
It looked like a bloated little hyena.
Yeah.
And it was gnarly looking. Like, really fucking
You'd think
gnarly.
It was dead, but you could see its fat belly, like, going up and down, and it was breathing. And you're like, oh, that's alive?
And
Crazy.
It was always, like, tucked away and...
It was always lying down somewhere.
Always, yeah.
You never saw it mobile.
Never.
Or, like, even stood up.
No. But I do remember vaguely in like a drunken kind of haze of us walking back to our house. I think Martin and Megan were with us at the time, so maybe I'm jumping ahead. But he was up and he was like looking at us or barking a bit. And I remember going over to like pet him and he totally snapped at me. And I was like, what the f-?
Grumpy old fat thing.
But it was just so funny that how we didn't even, like, and we would always, like, walk around that corner and be like, where is he? Where is the grump?
Because it was kind of an alleyway thing that you walked through to get to Khao San Road, which...
Yeah, or to get back to our place.
Yeah, so you went back and forth through it.
Yeah, and we were always wondering where the fat... I can't remember if we gave him a name or not, but it was kind of funny.
Blotus.
Blotus.
That's totally what it was. Remember? Yeah, Blotus.
Blotus. That's a perfect name. I'm I'm so glad you remembered that. Oh my god.
That's seriously just like jogged the title
Oh my
of this
god.
down.
That's
I
hilarious.
totally forgot about that.
Note that for the title.
That's hilarious.
But so anyways, little Blotus became our friend.
Grumpy old
Yeah,
Blotus.
didn't want to get on his bad side.
I remember too when Martin and Megan came and we're like, and this is Blotus, as we were on our way to the
Here you
Khao.
go. Maybe that was when he snapped at me. But so yeah.
He's usually asleep somewhere. You never know where, but he's always lying down.
Yeah, he's not dead. Trust us.
That's funny.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're mentioning Martin and Megan, and so this is kind of why we went to Bangkok the time that we did, because we were waiting for Carl's youngest brother Martin and his girlfriend Megan to come meet up with us, because they were going to spend several weeks with us. And so their nicknames are M and M. And
Martin and Megan.
Yeah, and so we were waiting, about those 8 to 10 days that we had there in Bangkok for them to
arrive. So we were just really killing time and doing a lot of exploring before they were due to arrive.
Yeah.
And just getting a feel for the area and
totally.
Because Bangkok's got so much to see.
Oh my God! Yeah, we're seriously breaking Bangkok possibly into 1.5 episodes because there's so much to cover.
Yeah.
We did a whole lot of exploring of the city, and when I say walking around, like we literally walked around everywhere.
Yeah, like on foot.
On foot, yeah. We had gone to check out Chinatown one of the nights that we were there, and that in itself was almost another little like mini culture shock.
It was gnarly.
It was fucking gnarly.
So again, it's more so like Chinese pagodas stuff around. More, just like Chinese stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there are Chinatowns everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
I secretly think they're kind of trying to take over. I'm just joking.
But it's the one thing.
Sorry, my leg was falling asleep.
That's, that they have all over is Chinatowns all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Chinatown was, it was a trip. There was a lot of homeless people that we saw, like a lot of poverty. And one of the ones, or two of the ones that really stood out to me were watching a guy with no legs.
It was like only went down to the waist.
Yeah, so it was
and then nothing.
Down to the waist and then nothing else. But he had fashioned onto his
basically hips.
His hips, this wooden board.
Just like a plank.
Like, yeah, kind of. It was almost like it was like a wooden board with like two pieces of wood at the bottom of it, kind of.
So it was kind of raised off the ground, and you could, then since it was raised and there was room, you could grab it from underneath.
Yeah, exactly, and kind of move it with, and that's kind of what he did, was he would use one arm to stabilize himself on the ground and then grabbed the piece of wood, and I think he almost had it tied there too, because I think he was mobile, totally getting around, and we saw him crossing
this busy-ass road that was like 4 or 5 lanes wide and just traffic.
Oh, it was traffic nonstop.
And he just went for it.
I feel like, at first, I felt really unsafe, like, crossing the street as I was. And I was like, this dude's just, like, going for it,
But it was crazy because he would just, like, have one arm and just kind of swing his body.
Yeah.
And just simultaneously move this plank of wood and then land on it and then that's just how he kind of moved.
Yep, totally.
And I remember there was some guy that I had seen in a wheelchair that had his legs were deformed to the point of where they looked like they had, I want to say like melted, but like his bones had melted, but not like from a fire.
Oh.
But like, if you compare it to like noodles, and once you boil noodles and they're just wet and bend however which way,
yeah, okay.
That's how his legs were bent. Were just so warped.
Yeah.
And since he couldn't use them, they were super small, and there was literally no muscle on his legs, and it was just skin around these warped bones in his wheelchair, and I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And we also saw a guy he had one arm, and that was the only limb that he had. He was literally dragging himself with his one arm just on the ground, on the sidewalk.
It was crazy.
It was nuts.
I
And
don't
so
know. It
this,
was specifically Chinatown too,
it
where we saw
was.
this, and we were just like, "What is
Yeah.
going on in this
Yeah.
area?"
So it was a bit crazy and a bit eye-opening of just like you really do not know how fortunate you are until you start seeing people who are very, just unfortunate with their
Yeah.
circumstances and what they're dealing with and what they're going through. It just really kind of slaps you in the face as far
Yeah.
as like, wow, makes you kind of appreciate what you got.
Yeah, there's like a woman with this huge cyst out of her side or
Yeah.
something. It was like the size of a football.
Fuck.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Yes. It's just like little things like that, you wouldn't expect you're gonna see in Asia. And
Yeah, you could see anything there.
we were actually gonna ship some stuff back that we just didn't plan on using for
Yeah, it
a
was stuff we
while.
didn't need anymore.
Yeah,
They're like my hiking shoes that were toast.
mm,
I guess I really just could have tossed them, but
yeah.
anyway, yeah, we sent a package home.
Yeah, and so on our way to sending this package home, we like turn a corner and there's this completely naked old man just sitting in a corner and he's like flipping his junk and just like,
He was just
you
sitting
know.
on a piece of cardboard, like in a windowsill area of
Yeah.
this business or whatever it was, and
Mhm.
he's just naked sitting on this cardboard.
Yeah. And so I was like,
And
okay. So
uh,
you really just don't know what you're gonna see around any corner. It's interesting.
yeah, there was this one section of near Calson Road where you walked, where there was this bigger lady,
Mm.
and they were also just on the sidewalk on a
Mhm.
bunch of cardboard, and she had what, like two kids,
Yeah.
younger kids,
Mhm.
and they had like a cup or a hat or something to.
Yeah, if anyone wanted to donate, or just give them
They
some
were
money.
always just lying down or sleeping, and
Yeah. Mhm.
it looked like it was just where they live was just
Oh yeah, for sure.
on this cardboard on the sidewalk. It's
Yeah.
crazy,
There
like
were
nothing there.
there were a lot of street vendors who would shut down for the night, and then their little stand would become where they slept. That was in a lot of places.
Yeah, so a
Um,
lot of humbling
for
experiences
sure.
and really eye-opening.
Definitely. It's hard to
Not feel
not.
compelled to
Yeah.
give something,
It really is hard to not feel.
which you could, but
You could. The thing is that while we're traveling the world and we've got this, budget, we can't really hand out to anybody, or not hand out to anybody, but we can't
everyone.
hand out to everybody because we would go broke in like, a couple months. I feel like
Yeah,
if you were to
you'd
hand out to
collectively definitely
everybody.
shell out a lot of money if you
Yeah.
were to.
Even though, I mean, there were some people that I felt, definitely compelled to want to help out. Like that one woman with her two kids, I gave them money. And
Yeah.
there was a couple days that we had gone back to this. There are these large kind of shopping complexes
And they're
that
huge.
they
They're
are
like
huge.
they're like westernized market sort of huge.
They are, yeah. And so if you wanted to, say, go, if you're like a big shopper and you wanted to check out, name brand stores, this would be where you would find those. Because literally any name brand you could think of, they're in these towers.
There was basically they were brand new, I think, too,
Yeah.
when we got there. But there
Mhm.
was three of them like right next to each other. They're
Yeah.
all Siams.
Yeah.
There's a Siam Discovery, one's a Center, and one's a Paragon.
Yeah.
And they each have kind of different things.
Mhm.
But yeah, they're all massive. And then just around the corner too is another big building, which is the MBK building,
Mhm.
which is just full of just about anything you can think of.
That place was a labyrinth.
Yeah, there's one section on one floor where it's almost like really condensed flea market style little booths that sell clothes or shoes or, you know,
And really,
anything.
yeah, you don't go into those places unless you're looking for something specific and you really like that's what you need to go. I mean, unless you really enjoy shopping because
I thought it was worth a look because it's
totally.
crazy.
But for me, I was getting like anxiety just walking in there because it is first stimulation overload, and then it's constantly people like, oh, you want this? You want, just like really trying to sell you stuff.
That gets old quick.
And it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to just be like, no, no, no. And they really like put it on.
They put the pressure down.
Yeah, they do. So unless you're really, trying to find something specific, or you just want to experience it, go for it. Or if you love shopping and you love getting hassled and you love getting ripped off, then go there. But yeah, so these places were gigantic, and one reason why we would go back to these a couple different times were for the food courts.
Yeah.
And then the supermarket, because the supermarket was huge.
Yeah.
And had
it was literally like a huge grocery store.
Oh, anything you could think of, you could get there.
Yeah, whether you needed like more toothpaste or like some small scissors.
Or bug spray.
Or if you wanted to buy a bag of crickets.
Yeah.
It's like...
they had it all.
Or if you wanted some fresh produce.
Yeah.
Actually, their fruit selection was amazing.
It was
the best. And
they
had like freshly squeezed juices.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking like tropical fruit that you don't see often or at all here. Dragon fruit,
mangosteen, like
coconut, mangoes.
Yeah, anything that you wanted,
amazing.
You could get there. It was phenomenal. So we did go back a couple times, just to shop for food mostly. But the food court itself was just also massive. It like took up the whole level of one of those big buildings, and it had specific little restaurants or stalls that were designed for, like, they did one thing really, really well.
Right, like a bowl of pho or ramen.
Or like one little noodle shop, or one specifically for dumplings, or another one for skewers of different meats, or like desserts over here. It was just, you could really...
So much food, and it was all so good. I'm getting hungry, and I could literally go back to Asia just for the food.
I know, seriously.
I could just go back just to eat.
Yeah, it's crazy. And everything, even if you're, like, even though we were in these big shopping complexes, the food was pretty decently priced.
Yeah, I mean, it was more expensive than the street food,
of course,
but it was still, it was still definitely reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
If you compared it to back home to whatever Western country or state, whatever you're from.
Mm-hmm. But one of the days, so we were in one of the 7-Elevens.
And we were basically just getting water to head to the Chatuchak markets.
Yeah. And so we get out of the 7-Eleven, and a guy had come up and just like commented on Carl's burly beard at the time, or his tattoos that he has on his legs that are very noticeable.
And this was just a guy walking down the street, and I was just out front waiting for Whit to check out of the 7-Eleven with her water.
Mm-hmm.
And he had basically mentioned, we just started talking and hitting it off, and then he had mentioned, it's National Lucky Buddha Day or Lucky Buddha Day, and he was saying if you're up for sightseeing on this day, you can go to the tuk-tuks with yellow license plates.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a map? I was like, yeah, I got a map. Mm-hmm. And he was basically circling all these popular monuments.
Just these different
locations,
tourist destinations that you would want to see.
Just things to see and check out that were all over town. And he was circling like where everything is. Mm-hmm. And that it only cost you like 80 baht to see it all.
40 baht.
40? Was that what it was?
It was like nothing. That's why we were like, oh my God, like not even $2 to do this? Sure.
And we were like, that sounds too good to be true. He's like, no, I'll tell you. And he basically called over a tuk-tuk and set some shit in Thai and explained to the guy
what we wanted to do.
And he nodded in approval.
Like,
and we're like,
totally.
wow, really crazy.
We're like, oh, cool. And so, one of the places that it said we were going to go was the Standing Buddha, which was our first stop. And we get there, and it's this massive standing Buddha. And it out front was like a, pretty big courtyard area, like temple. And there were people, worshiping and doing prayers. And we get there, and it's pretty amazing. And so we're, sitting there and just admiring it. We're taking some photos and, just kind of admiring the body of work that it took to make this fucking huge Buddha. Because it probably stood like at least maybe 60, 70 feet tall.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was huge. Trying to convert that into meters because we're the only ones who use feet. Yeah. I think it's like 20 meters
like 5
or
stories
something.
Tall.
Yeah, it's huge. So we see that and we're like, wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. And then we jump back into the tuk-tuk and we go to something else called the Lucky Buddha. And so this felt like a very unique experience where he took us, and there weren't any other tuk-tuks around.
There was no one else there.
Yeah, it wasn't busy with tourists. and he introduced us to this guy who introduces himself as being a teacher, and
His
tells
English
us
was pretty good, actually.
his English was amazing.
Yeah.
And so he's explaining to us the significance of this lucky Buddha and where it had come from, how long it had been around, and he kind of like lets us into this gated courtyard where there are these, monasteries where, he's been teaching, and he takes us over to where this lucky Buddha was, and like we take photos in front of it. You give like a small little donation to the box that it had, and then, you like remove your feet.
You take your feet off, you lop your feet off, and then you go and live in Chinatown with the rest of the people.
Oh my god. No. So you take your shoes off before you, go in there and see it, just to be respectful. But yeah, so that was a cool experience, And we then go to a place where it was like a travel agency, and I'm going to say that with air quotes, because we get there, and this was when it kind of started feeling slightly shady to me.
Because we had planned to go to the full moon party in Copenhagen, which was...
Once Martin and Megan got there.
Was it once a year?
No,
it was every full moon, yeah.
It was once a month, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, it's a full moon party, and we were like, oh, we have to do that. It's just a must do.
Yeah.
So we were going to get tickets for all four of us to get there.
Just so they didn't have to worry about it when they got there.
Yeah, it was all handled. All they had to do was reimburse us.
Yeah, exactly. So once we get to this travel agency, we're asking them, okay, how much, would it take to get down there?
Because it involved like a train, a bus, and a ferry.
Yeah, so it had a lot going on with it. And so she tells us a certain price, and this is one thing I don't think we've talked about yet in this episode, but you need to haggle. Like, this is just what happens.
It's like customary.
It is customary to barter. Or not really barter, because you're not exchanging anything but money, but it's...
Yeah, just haggling.
You're haggling.
Yeah,
you're trying to get the price lower than what they're giving you. Because 100%, 110%, you're getting ripped off if you go with the first price they give you. This is just a fact.
And honestly, it feels like after a while of dealing with this, you almost feel, because Thai people are very friendly. Some are genuinely friendly, and some are just, there's like a fake face on, and they're really just looking to fuck you over.
Yeah.
For as much money as they can get out of you.
Totally.
And you just feel like a wallet with legs. And everyone's just looking at you and seeing a dollar sign.
Yeah. This is their livelihood, though. This is their job. This is how they make money.
I know, but it makes you feel so disconnected from anyone. And I don't know, after a while, I felt like I just didn't want to talk to any local.
Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard. I completely agree with that.
I don't know. Me personally, I get sick of it. And I'm like, everyone's just trying to fuck me over, and I'm just getting taken for a ride from everyone, and it's like you got to watch everything, and if you don't come to an agreement on a price beforehand, then they're gonna jump this huge, this is $30 or,
Well, see, that's where what I'm saying is that you have to barter. And so
beforehand.
Well, I guess, what are you saying? Beforehand?
Yeah.
Like, you don't agree to a price, and you're like, here's the money.
No, but I mean, like, for instance, if you were to rent a motorbike and, like, filled up on someone's gas, and then they told you how much it was, they're gonna, since it's too late sort of thing, versus, like, before you fill it, come to a price, or before you get in a tuk-tuk and you get to your destination, they're gonna be like, oh, it's 1,000 baht.
Oh, definitely.
Versus before you get into the tuk-tuk, be like, this is where I'm going, I can give you this much, and you go back and forth and come to an agreement. If it's too much, then you shoo them away, and you get the next one, or the next taxi, or whatever you're going for.
So tip number 1, always agree to the price before any goods or services are exchanged.
Correct.
Tip number 2, if you're bartering, whatever price they give you, you're cutting it in half immediately.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. And they are never going to agree on that half price because they're saying, oh, no, way too low. But the thing is that
you jump up a little.
No, rule of thumb, that price that they've given you is like 75% more than inflated.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going off of. So if they're not going to agree to that half price, then you just walk. And as
You go to the next person.
Well, this is the thing.
Someone else has it, or someone else can give you a ride.
Can I keep saying what I
No,
was saying?
you're done. That's
No.
it.
Okay, you're finished. As soon as you start to walk, they're going to go, oh, no, wait, come here. Because they're losing a sale.
Right.
So as soon as you start to walk, that's when you kind of have them. So if they don't go right to that half price, you can still keep walking and then just go to a next one if you want.
Yeah, because some won't budge. Then.
No, some won't.
If you say half and then you walk away, some of them are like, fuck it, I'm going to get the next sucker.
And literally, I would not, if I really needed something or I really wanted something and they didn't just kind of hover right around that half price or go just above it, I would just say, fuck it. Okay, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because literally, it's like once you start seeing how much you can get certain things for, and then you kind of practice with it and go to different stalls, and you're like, okay, this is how, and it's literally just, you have to start getting out there and practicing with bartering, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to save your money and not just get ripped off left and right.
Yeah. Because a lot of things just aren't, outwardly priced.
Yeah. Nothing's priced outwardly.
Certain restaurants, they have like a menu in their price.
They do, yeah. This doesn't, so everything we're telling you, this is on the streets for certain goods, or like cabs or tuk-tuks or tickets, for instance, like what we're dealing with here with this woman that we're, sitting in front of trying to get to Koh Phangan with. But this does not apply to restaurants that are,
basically, if there's
go
no
in and
price
sit
given,
down. Yeah.
You gotta haggle and come to an agreement on a price
Exactly.
before anything's been exchanged.
And even with most like food carts that are out like serving, okay, say they do like a fruit smoothie, you're not going to barter with them on your fruit smoothie. Like you're like, okay, it's pretty plain, that this is how much it's going to be.
So back to our National Buddha Day ride.
We were trying to get the tickets from this woman, and she was telling us a price, and we didn't have any experience with haggling at this point in time. We really didn't.
It's awkward at first.
It was pretty awkward at
first,
too. And dealing with something like tickets, I didn't really expect that that's something that we needed to do or that was okay to do. I wasn't sure how that worked. So we kind of went with the price that she gave us.
Because we thought it was just like a set price then. It was just like, well, yeah, we sell these tickets. This is how much they cost.
Exactly. So we're like, oh, okay, here you go. And literally, they said that they had to call somebody and get the tickets, and that the tuk-tuk driver could take us to a couple more places, and that we could come back and then pick up the tickets once they were there.
Yeah.
And we were going, okay, that sounds pretty sketch, that we're just leaving you with our money, and okay.
It didn't feel too bad yet, because it kind of made sense, like they had to go to the train station and get the tickets and bring it back. And...
For me, my red flags were going up. I was like, I don't like the sound of this. But we kind of went with it, and we get back into the tuk-tuk, and he takes us to a
suit shop.
So it was labeled on the map that the random dude outside the 7-Eleven gave us as an expo. And we were thinking, a big, and he kind of described it as a big marketplace with a lot of different stalls. And we're like, oh, okay, well, we're not really looking to do shopping, but sure. And literally all it was one suit shop. And there were these two...
Well, I think there is an expo, but he didn't take us to that one.
Oh, could have been. I don't know.
Because this is the thing, like, it's all connected, and they'll take you to wherever they get the most commission.
Well, exactly. But I pointed to the expo on the map, and the guy's like, yeah, it's this. It's this. So he takes us to this suit shop. There's 2 Indian guys. We get in there. They're being pretty nice and friendly with us, and they're giving us, like, juice boxes and sat us down on this couch, and we're just, like, showing us...
I was like, I don't want a suit.
No, and I was immediately, once we got in there, I was like, I think we even told the tuk-tuk driver, we don't need to go in here. And he's like, no, you go. And was like,
oh, just go in and just talk to him.
Very, like, just kind of forcing us to go in here. And we're like, fuck.
But friendly and with a smile.
Exactly.
That's how it's all approached
Always,
with.
Yeah.
Every time.
And so you don't want to be rude. You don't want to be disrespectful. So we go in there, and literally, like, I knew immediately that we were getting had. Once we went into this suit shop, I was like, this has all been a fucking scam.
Yeah.
And so I sit down on the couch, and I know, I'm not fucking buying a suit. And so they really start to kind of look to Carl and start pressuring him. And the one guy came over to me and was like, "Oh, you want a dress? You want a dress?" I was like, "Look at me. I'm not going to fucking wear a dress. Like, no, thank you." And so I just kind of like crossed my arms, drank my little juice box, and was like, "Nope, sorry." But they really tried pressuring Carl into getting a suit.
Yeah, and they were, I mean, I was like, I'm never gonna wear a suit. And he's like, oh, you'll wear one of these suits, I promise you. And
Yeah.
it was like, look at the prices, and was, flipping through these receipts of how much he was selling suits for, and how much he would sell me one for.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, let me measure you, and just being really friendly and really nice, but it's all bullshit.
And we're like, we're backpackers. We don't need to use this suit. Like,
it's like, oh, you can ship it home.
Yeah,
this is how much I can cost, or charge you to ship it back home.
Oh yeah, they're putting
putting it down.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I just kept saying, I don't know how many times I said no.
Well, and there was a couple times where you were considering it, and you like looked over, and I was like, no.
Yeah, then I'd think about it. I was like, what the fuck is happening? No, I don't want a fucking suit.
Exactly.
I was like, this is totally how they get people.
They have a way of persuading you. So once we got out of that store, and we're
like, let's go get our tickets.
We're just like, no. We get back into the tuk-tuk, and the driver's demeanor changed almost.
He's like, oh, did you get a suit? And we were like, no.
Yeah.
And he was just like instantly,
no smiles,
unhappy.
No niceness. Yeah, very unhappy. But he takes us to this other like temple place, which was also again really cool and something that we probably would have wanted to go see.
Right.
And so we explored the grounds of that. We took a lot of photos. We had a good time, but we were also, it was like in the back of our mind, like, how do we get out of this?
I think because now we were separate from the driver, who was basically waiting out front with the tuk-tuk, and we were like, we need to get the fuck. Like, we need to get our tickets and then bounce.
Yeah, because we already had money attached in this scheme. So we're like, okay, well...
Which we were also like, I wonder if that's even going to be there now.
I thought it was going to be gone. I thought they were long gone with our cash.
I was like, this is what we need to get our tickets and then peace out. And just split.
So basically, we get back in the tuk-tuk. We go back to that place, which luckily was still there.
No, he wanted to take us to another suit shop.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And we pull up, and we weren't even, I was like, no. We're not getting out of the tuk-tuk.
We just stayed in the tuk-tuk.
And he was like, no, just go inside, sit down. And we're like, no, we're going back to the ticket place now. Yeah. And this took like 4 or 5 back and forth stuff. Oh, just go inside and you just have a rest. And we're like, no.
He kept asking me, do you wear jewelry? Do you have rings? Do you have bracelets? I was like holding up my hands. I was like, no.
Because gems are a huge thing,
I don't want to go, yeah. So finally, we persuade him to go back to that ticket shop for us because we wanted to pick up our tickets. We get there. We pay, or we've already paid. So luckily, they're there with our tickets. So
we do have all the tickets and everything we need.
Yeah. And so then we come back out and we're like, all right, bye.
So
we pay him.
I basically hand him the whatever
40
baht. I think it was 40 a person.
It could have been. I don't know.
Either way, we gave him what was agreed upon, and then I knew where we were.
Yeah.
Because we'd been zipping back and forth all over town, and we were pretty close to Khao San Road.
Yeah.
And I was like, here's your money, and we just bounced and like walked off because I knew how to get back on foot.
Yeah.
It was like a weight off your mind of just being out of this scam.
Totally.
Fucking tuk-tuk run.
Yeah. So we were like, yeah, lucky Buddha day my ass. And then we're like, is the guy, the random dude that just stands outside 7-Eleven's in on all this? And we're like, totally,
It's all weirdly connected.
So,
and yeah, like later on, a few days later or something, some guy was like, oh, it's National Lucky Buddha Day. And we were like, fuck you.
Get out of here.
I just like smiled and was like, no.
No, dude.
Kept walking. Like,
and it always starts with, hey, nice beard, or, oh, I like your tattoos. And I was like, Carl, keep walking.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. But we learned that lesson, and I'm glad that we did early on, because then we knew what to look for and kind of how to feel, about something like that.
Yeah, and just how to have a firm stance of where...
Yeah, stand your ground.
Yeah.
But, we gotta go, unfortunately. But there is still so much to talk about Bangkok.
My God, yeah.
It's crazy.
So thanks for listening.
Thank
We
you so much,
unfortunately
you
have to
guys.
cut it a little short,
Yeah.
even though as far as what we have on our list,
Exactly. So
time-wise, it'll probably be normal, but
we're running late on time. But we also want to say we just got to 600 downloads. So thank you so much for listening, you guys.
Thank you,
Really
huge.
appreciate it. That's pretty badass.
All the support is much appreciated.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
We're glad you're enjoying the episodes. And really, if you'd like to support us, you can leave us a review on like iTunes or Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. Like,
or
subscribe, review.
Yeah, like, subscribe, review, share with your friends, tell people about it, whatever you want to do. We really want to keep up with this podcast and hopefully, have it become something we do full time and have, going while we're on the road.
Yeah,
so
we want to keep it going strong. We still got tons of stories.
And we've got
tons of tips.
A lot more that we're going to be making in the future. So, yeah. All right. Peace out, guys.
See you next week.
Later.
If you liked what you heard, subscribe to our podcast.
If you feel inclined, leave us a comment or review, tell someone you know who might enjoy to have a listen, and feel free to share on your choice of social media.
If you want to know more about us or see any photos of our travels, you can check out our website at trailofbeans.com.
We also have a Facebook page where you can follow us on our upcoming adventures and get updates along the way, which can be found by searching @ The Bean Trail.
We'll be back next week. Same beans,
same podcast.